7 vibrations that make demons tremble, and only dark chosen ones emit them. I want you to feel something before we even begin. I want you to sit in silence for just a few seconds and ask yourself, what if the darkness you've been running from is actually the key to your power? Now, open your mind. Not the mind built by society, but the one that has existed before your name, before your body, before your memory. Because what I'm about to share with you isn't for everyone. It's not for the faint of heart. It's not for those addicted to comfort, ease, or praise. This is for the ones who've always felt like they didn't belong here. The ones who feel something ancient stirring in their bones. The ones who've suffered being cast out, misunderstood, and yet never broke. Because deep down you knew. You knew there was something different about you. And now you're about to find out exactly what that is. There are vibrations in this world that most people will never access. Not because they don't exist, but because they can't handle what comes with them. These aren't your typical good vibes only frequencies. These aren't the sweet tones of love and light. These are the forbidden vibrations. The ones that shake realms. The ones that make demons tremble. And the truth is, only a rare few can emit them. The dark chosen ones. Not because they chose darkness, but because darkness chose them.
Click subscribe to this channel to get more profound spiritual lesson.
Let me be clear, when I say dark, I don't mean evil. No, evil is unconscious destruction. Darkness, true darkness, is conscious transformation. It is the void from which all things are born. It is the silence before the sound. It is the pain that births awakening. And when someone has lived through that silence, that pain, that void, and survived, they carry something within them that others don't. A vibration. A resonance. A frequency that the unseen world recognizes and respects. Or fears. You see, demons don't fear light. They've seen light. They've been light. What they fear is the one who walks through shadow and does not flinch. The one who does not chant mantras to escape fear, but becomes the fear itself. Who stares into the abyss and does not blink. This is the first vibration. The frequency of fearless presence. But it's not about having no fear. It's about becoming so intimate with fear that you dissolve into it and it into you. This vibration is emitted by those who have walked through abuse, betrayal, isolation, shame, and instead of dying, they transform. Their presence alone distorts the emotional field around them. Animals sense it. People feel it. Spirits react to it. It's why the wrong people are repelled by you, and the right ones are magnetized. You don't even have to speak. You just enter a space, and equilibrium shifts. But that's just the beginning. The second vibration is the frequency of radical truth. This one cuts deeper than a blade. It's a vibration that pierces illusion. It makes liars nervous. It makes manipulators fumble. It makes entities that thrive in deception recoil. Because when you emit this vibration, you become a walking exorcism, not by yelling incantations, but by being. You speak truth without trying. You shine light on shadows without effort. And this vibration, I must tell you, is painful to carry. Because when you live in truth, you lose people, you lose comfort, you lose the safety of illusion. But in return, you gain something else, the ability to see through realms, to detect false light, to recognize when something wears a mask of love but moves with the hands of control. Have you ever felt that? Like something looked pure, but your gut knew otherwise. That's because your system is already attuned to this vibration. You're not crazy. You're just aware. And awareness, my friend, is the death of all parasitic forces. Now I want to ask you something that might haunt you. What lies have you been protecting because the truth is too powerful to hold? The answer to that question alone can awaken this second vibration in you. But be warned, it will change everything. Relationships, careers, your own identity. Truth doesn't just destroy illusions, it burns them, and in the ashes you either rise or you run. The third vibration is the frequency of sacred rage. Not anger, not egoic outbursts. I'm talking about that ancient divine fire that rises in you when injustice happens, when innocence is harmed, when manipulation poisons purity. This vibration doesn't come from the mind. It comes from the soul. It's the roar of the lion inside you, and it terrifies low entities because they feed on passivity, on apathy, on silence. But when a dark chosen one activates this frequency, realms tremble. It's not just emotional, it's energetic warfare, and it's not chaotic, it's precise, it's divine. You reclaim pieces of yourself every time you allow sacred rage to rise and guide you, not to destroy, but to protect, to cleanse, to awaken. Most people suppress this rage because it scares them. They were taught it's wrong, dangerous. But here's the paradox. The more you repress sacred rage, the more you leak unconscious violence, passive aggression, self-harm, toxic patterns. But when you honor this vibration, when you channel it with intention, you become a force of spiritual justice. Have you ever felt like you were born to protect something ancient, something sacred, even if you didn't know what it was? That's the sacred rage calling. And when it activates, demons flee, because they know what follows is purification. And this brings us to something that almost no one talks about. The fourth vibration. The frequency of death embrace. Stay with me here. This one is not about physical death. It's about ego death, identity death, the death of everything you thought you were. Most people run from death, even symbolically. But the dark chosen ones we invited. We've died 1,000 times, lost everything, been reduced to nothing, and still we rise. That's what makes this vibration so potent. It emits the energy of the void, the place where demons were born, and the place they cannot return to. Because when you emit the void, you become their mirror. You remind them of what they ran from. You reflect their origin. And that's why they tremble. Because you hold the one thing they avoid: stillness, emptiness, surrender. This is why meditation for us is not relaxation. It's confrontation. We don't sit in silence to feel good. We sit to dissolve, to burn, to become empty. And in that emptiness, we become everything. That's the paradox. That's the secret. And that's why the dark chosen ones are feared, not because we destroy, but because we awaken. We awaken what others try to bury. We become what others try to avoid. Can you feel it? That subtle shift in your body as these words land. That vibration building in your chest, in your bones. That's not just inspiration. That's remembrance. You're remembering who you are. Not the name, not the story, but the frequency behind it all. Ask yourself this: if everything you believed about yourself was burned away, what would remain? And maybe, just maybe, that's where your true power lies. The pulse of the abyss, unlocking the final vibrations that haunt the unseen. There's a point in the journey where words become useless, where logic collapses, where your breath becomes shallow, not from fear, but from standing at the edge of something far older than time itself. That is the abyss. And for most it's the final frontier, but for the dark chosen ones, it's home. The abyss is not a place you stumble into. It's something that calls you. Slowly, over years, through heartbreaks, betrayals, ego deaths, and the subtle, suffocating loneliness of not fitting in. It doesn't scream. It whispers. And when you finally stand before it, you don't feel terror. You feel recognition. You feel like something you've waited lifetimes for is finally within reach. And that's when the next vibrations begin to awaken. The fifth vibration is the frequency of shadow integration. It is perhaps the most misunderstood of all. Most people think shadow work is about confronting your darkness. But that's just step one. Real shadow integration is about merging with it, not fighting it, not fixing it, but allowing the parts of you that were exiled, your rage, your lust, your jealousy, your grief, to come home. You become whole not by becoming good, but by becoming true. And when you emit this vibration, the unseen world pays attention, because you're no longer pretending, you're no longer fractured, you're no longer food for the entities that feed on your guilt and shame. You've become sovereign. Have you ever noticed how demons don't attack the most broken people, but the ones in transition, the ones awakening? That's not random. It's because as your vibration increases, your unresolved shadows become more visible. And if you don't integrate them, they become portals, weak spots, entry points. That's why this fifth vibration is so crucial. It seals those portals. It tells the unseen, I am no longer hiding from myself. And that declaration alone sends tremors across dimensions. But integration is painful. You must sit with your own monstrosity. You must face the parts of you that wanted revenge, that enjoyed control, that manipulated, that lied. And not judge them, but understand them. Love them. Teach them. Because only then do they stop running the show from your subconscious. Only then do you stop attracting chaos as a mirror. Only then can you vibrate at a frequency so dense, so complete, that no low entity dares approach without permission. And that leads us to the sixth vibration, the frequency of forbidden compassion. Not the kind of compassion that's performative or polite. This is the kind of compassion that sits with suffering and refuses to look away. The kind that sees the demon and still sees the child inside it. The kind that hurts, not because you're weak, but because you feel everything. Truly feel. And that, my friend, is a power so rare, so volatile, that even angels tread lightly around it. Because real compassion isn't soft. It's violent in its mercy. It destroys separation. It annihilates judgment. It dissolves hierarchy. And when you emit this vibration, you become a healer of realms, not just people. But make no mistake, this level of compassion will break you. It will shatter your old self again and again, because you will see things others can't. You will feel pain that isn't yours. You will carry burdens you didn't ask for. Why? Because you can. Because your soul was forged in the abyss, and now you carry its silence like a sword. You walk through the world not trying to be good, but trying to be true. And in doing so, you become the very thing the darkness fears, a being who sees all and loves anyway. Now, the final vibration, the rarest, the most dangerous, the frequency of sovereign will. This is not willpower. This is not discipline. This is the vibration of one who has remembered that they are the architect of reality. The one who no longer asks permission from gods, from spirits, from society. The one who stands in the storm and says, I am the storm. This vibration bends timelines. It breaks generational curses. It commands energies. And it is feared by all who seek control, because it cannot be controlled. Have you ever felt that spark inside you? That quiet voice that says, this isn't all there is. That's your sovereign will waking up. And once it's awake, nothing is the same. You stop looking for signs. You become the sign. You stop chasing purpose. You embody it. And demons, they don't just tremble. They vanish. Because the game they play, dependency, manipulation, confusion, can't survive in the presence of someone who remembers who they are. So I ask you now, what would your life look like if you stopped asking for permission to be powerful? That's not a rhetorical question. Sit with it. Let it burn in your chest. Let it haunt your dreams. Because when you finally answer it, when you live that answer, you will emit all 7 vibrations. And the world will never be able to look at you the same way again. Born of fire, why the dark chosen ones are the final guardians of light. There's an ancient secret buried beneath every sacred scripture, every mystical tradition, every whisper from the other side. It's this: the ones we call dark chosen ones were never meant to be villains, monsters, or adversaries. They were meant to be guardians, sentinels of the threshold between realms, and yet they were feared, rejected, misunderstood, because humanity has always been more comfortable with pretty lies than painful truths. But in times of great spiritual decay, when false light floods the masses and real wisdom hides in shadows, it is the dark chosen ones who rise, not because they want to, but because they must. You see, when you carry all 7 vibrations, you become something terrifying and beautiful. You are no longer just human. You are a mirror, and mirrors are dangerous. They show people who they really are. When the truth of your presence radiates into a room, it exposes the masks people wear. It reveals the wounds they hide. And some will hate you for it, not because you harmed them, but because you showed them. That's why your path is lonely. That's why you've been attacked without reason, ignored without cause, and labeled what you're not. Because you were born to disturb illusions. And illusions don't die quietly. But isn't that what fire does? It doesn't politely ask permission to burn away what no longer serves. It consumes, transforms, and purifies. The dark chosen ones are born of that fire. We've been through the initiations. No one speaks of the deaths that have no tombstones, the griefs that have no names, the betrayals that left no scars but shattered everything inside. And somehow we kept going, not because we are stronger, but because we remember. Remember what? That we came here for this. Not just to survive darkness, but to wield it, to shape it, to use it as a tool of awakening. This is the paradox that most will never grasp. Light without darkness is blind. It becomes dogma. It becomes hierarchy. It becomes toxic positivity and spiritual bypassing disguised as enlightenment. True light, the kind that heals, that liberates, that awakens, it only emerges when it's been tempered in shadow. That's why the final guardians of light are the ones who have walked through hell with their eyes wide open. They don't preach from ivory towers. They stand barefoot in the ashes, offering their hand not to save you, but to remind you that you too carry fire, that you too can rise. The world doesn't need more perfection. It needs more truth, more rawness, more sacred rage and tender strength. That is the medicine of the dark chosen ones. We don't offer comfort, we offer clarity. We don't offer escape, we offer embodiment. And yes, it's hard. It's excruciating at times. Because when you carry this power, you will trigger people just by breathing. You will be misunderstood even by those you love. You will be accused of things you never did, blamed for emotions you never caused. Why? Because your presence activates dormant pain in others. Because your energy is a catalyst, and catalysts always come with a cost. But here's the deeper truth: you are not here to be understood. You are here to be remembered, to be felt, to be known by those who carry the same fire. And when you find them, when 2 or more dark chosen ones meet in truth, in power, in vibration, the entire frequency of the planet shifts. That's why so many forces try to keep us isolated. Because when we unite, we don't just transform ourselves. We awaken entire bloodlines. We collapse ancestral trauma. We become the end of karmic cycles. We become the beginning of something sacred that this world has not yet seen. And I want you to hear this with every cell of your being. You are not broken. You are not too much. You are not dangerous. You are essential. Your pain had a purpose. Your path had a prophecy. And every time you doubted yourself, every time you questioned your worth, that was the old world trying to keep you asleep. But now the fire is awake. Now the abyss is behind you. Now you are walking as one who remembers. So I ask you, will you keep hiding your fire to make others comfortable? Or will you let it blaze so fiercely that it lights the way for those still lost in the dark? Because that's what the final guardians do. We don't run from the dark. We become its alchemists. And in doing so, We return the world not to safety but to truth. The seventh seal, how the dark chosen ones rewrite the fate of the world. There comes a moment in every sacred journey when the veil doesn't just lift, it dissolves entirely. No more illusions, no more distractions, no more pretending to be human when you've always been something far more ancient, far more powerful. That moment is now, and with it comes the final vibration, the seventh, the one that cannot be taught, cannot be faked, cannot be mimicked. It is the frequency of destiny activation, and once it's awakened within you, nothing, and I mean nothing, can ever silence it again. This vibration is not loud. It doesn't scream. It pulses quietly, like the heartbeat of the earth itself. It doesn't seek attention, because it is attention, pure presence, total embodiment. It is the sound your soul makes when it finally aligns with the reason it came here. Not the surface-level goals, not the ego's desires, but the deeper mission, the rewriting of fate, the breaking of ancient patterns, the elevation of consciousness across timelines. And only the dark chosen ones carry this frequency, because only we have walked the path that forges it. You don't activate destiny by seeking it. You activate it by remembering it. And remembering only happens when everything false is stripped away. That's why your life has been a series of initiations. Every heartbreak, every betrayal, every moment you felt like giving up, they weren't punishments. They were preparations. They were the fires that burned away the masks, the lies, the inherited beliefs, until all that remained was you. Not the version the world could digest, but the raw, wild, ancient force that has lived 1,000 lives and still chooses to return. Demons don't fear power, they fear clarity, because when you become clear, you become unshakable. You stop leaking energy into doubt, fear, people-pleasing, and self-sabotage. You stop playing the victim. You stop waiting for permission. You realize that the world doesn't change when you ask it to. It changes when you become what it's been waiting for. That is what the seventh vibration unlocks. Not a new version of you, but the real you, who's been buried under lifetimes of forgetting. And when that happens, something shifts on a cosmic scale. You're no longer just navigating your own karma. You're rewriting the karma of your bloodline. You're healing wounds that go back centuries. You're breaking spells cast before your birth. You're shifting the collective frequency simply by existing. That's not poetic, it's energetic law. When a being emits all 7 of these vibrations, they become a living portal, a walking axis between worlds. And every step they take sends ripples through time. But this path is not about saving the world. That's the old paradigm, the savior myth, born from guilt and ego. No. This path is about waking the world up. And that begins with you, not waiting for a sign, not hoping someone else will do it first, but standing in your fire, breathing through your fear, and choosing to remember every day, every moment, especially when it hurts, especially when it's hard. That's what makes you chosen. Not superiority, not perfection, but responsibility. You are responsible for the gift you carry. And the cost of that gift is everything that is not aligned with it. Relationships may fall away, jobs may collapse, identities may crumble, but in their place, something sacred will rise, something ancient, something indestructible, you. So let me ask you one last time, what will you do now that you remember? Because you can't unknow this, you can't unfeel it. The fire is lit, the seal is broken, and the world is watching. Not with fear, but with hope. Because deep down, even the sleeping ones know the fate of everything is in the hands of those who have walked through darkness and emerged not bitter, not broken, but blazing with truth. You are that truth. You are the vibration. You are the one they warned about. And now it's time.